the founder of the Barefoot Sanctuary, but also the curator of all the beautiful things happening in this tent today. And more than that, she's a deeply intuitive soul. And it's just an honour to be able to call her my friend, because the advice that she gives, the life coaching advice that she gives, even just like a passing conversation in the street, if you just ask her for help, she just gives you these beautiful nuggets, like little chocolates wrapped up in golden foil. And I use them all the time. And it's just amazing that she's put them together in a book as well, because I'm just so going to need that every day of my life. So I'm not going to go on and on and on, but she is an incredible woman, and really all of us are here today because of all the hard work she's put in. So thank you so much, Bernadette, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm just going to warm my feet a little bit on the grass. Oh, it's so sunny. I'm going to stand out here if I may. First of all, I just thank you so much for coming and witnessing the birth of this baby. I can't quite believe it. One of my son's friends held it this morning in his hands, and she was like, "Oh, it's a book." It's like she thought it was going to be a leaflet, so it is actually a book. And as the two speakers, Roxana and Alison, were saying before, none of this happened on its own. And I'm so touched to have my editor in the audience, Kim Williams, who has worked with me on this, and it's been incredible. We have the whole thing about writing a book, people say can be quite painful, but for me it's actually been incredibly joyful. But I wanted just to really remember why this here all emerged, and I want to share with you, if you are afraid to follow something, if something in your life is not feeling quite right, honestly, take your socks and shoes off, spend a bit more time barefoot, and something will start to percolate through your system. Because my first memory as a child, I'm barefoot. I'm in my front garden. I am so happy. It's sunny like this. The sun is shining on my face. I can feel it right now. And I am playing on my own. I am one of many children, and I'm the fourth child at this time. I think actually the fifth, maybe. And I am just in my element because I am in my little bare feet, my little pudgy legs, and I've got wet legs because it was the 70s. Some of you are younger than that, but it was a really hot summer in the early 70s. And it's so hot that even in Northern Ireland, the soil turned to sand. So could pretend that I was by the beach, because we were a few miles away from the beach. And I would go with my little wet feet and legs, and I would plunk my bum onto the ground, and I would lift up scoopfuls of dust and sprinkle them on my legs and just go, "My legs are golden, my legs are golden." And then off I would toddle back round to the tap at the back of the house, oblivious to whatever was happening with all of my siblings and all the kids from all over the park would be in my back garden. And I would just do that, and I did it again and again and again and again and again. And then roll forward. I might cry a bit. To being on the Isle of Wight. And my daughter's 9. And I go down to the beach. And I've had a year where I have been so ungrounded. I've had years of being ungrounded. Because somehow I lost connection to that little girl. I lost connection to the kid that had this smile that could crack open at the biggest thing. Other people could see her all the time. I just couldn't see her. And on this day in the beach in the Isle of Wight, I suddenly look down at my bare feet on this beach. I walked down, I remember it so vividly. I walked down through the woods. Birds were singing. It was like 7 or 8, and I'm not an early riser, so it's a miracle that I'd be up that early. And I remember looking down at my bare feet, and it was like as if someone was whispering to me, like, "Wake up, wake up." And I just remember standing, staring at my feet, as if, if you ever have that, something so close, a memory so close is there. And I almost had it. It's almost like I had it, but I couldn't hear it, and it went away. And I remember just, wow, what was it? Well, that was weird. And off I went. 2 weeks later, this is a hotel called the Priory Bay Hotel in the Isle of Wight. 2 weeks later, I would wake up one Sunday morning, having kept my husband awake for 3 nights already, with these incredible revelations. And thankfully, because of being shown my shadow side, being shown that when I was afraid, I came across as aggressive, I had started to understand that there was much more going on inside of me than I knew. And I took myself off for a run with my dog, and I headed down to the beach. And I took my socks and shoes off again. And that memory of the Priory Bay Hotel came back. And I just was yearning to feel free. And the water was calling me to come in. And it was so beautiful. I don't know, in North Berwick we have this incredible beaches. This particular bay is so incredible. And I remember I had my dog with me, Seaweed. And I was also aware, having had 3 nights I've had 12 months of incredibly stressful, kind of ridiculous thoughts, all created by me. None of this is anybody else's. It was all to do with my own narrative, my own beliefs about myself. That I just had this fear that a crazy part of me was maybe going to take me off into the sea and I would drown and I would never come back. Because that kind of, there's these other parts of our personality that are deep inside, that are scared of us being stronger and more visible than it would like us have been. So I turned to my little dog and I said, Seaweed, honey, will you come in with me? Because I really want to go for a swim. I think we're meant to go in, but I'm afraid. And she just looked at me, and some of you know Seaweed, and she just looked at me and she just walked straight in. And she just started to swim. And I followed her. And I lay on my back and I closed my eyes and I cried tears of like all the ridiculous thoughts that I was holding in my mind about who I was just fell away. And as I walked out of the water, something really interesting happened. Because I knew I was a writer. I just knew I'm a writer. Wow, it's like I'd stepped into a different universe almost, or a different paradigm. And this woman just seemed to know that she was a writer and she was going to write a book about loving and cherishing who you are. Because if I didn't write a book and accept all parts of me, how could my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter who's 18, how could she love the parts of her that I was rejecting, which are parts of her? So if I didn't learn to love and cherish who I was, how could I give her permission to love and cherish all the parts of her? And so I felt ecstatic. I knew what I was going to be. I'm a writer. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to make a film. Didn't say that out loud earlier, but I'm going to make a film. And it was like incredible, ecstatic, joyful. But here's the thing. That was 9 years ago. And 9 years it has taken me to finally stand with this book. Not because I wasn't good enough or didn't have the stories or didn't have the creativity or any of that stuff. It was all there. I just didn't have all parts of me in writing the book with me. I had to dive deep and heal parts of me that were just, I didn't even know were holding me back. So rather than coming home and announcing I'm going to be a writer and it all being like a Hollywood curve thing, I came home and I realized I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. And 2 days later, I'm in a different priory. I'm in the Glasgow Priory. And boy, that was an interesting arrival. But something else had happened as well. Because although I knew and I was stepping into going into this weird world of being a psychiatric patient, I had a guide inside me, because the woman that walked out of that beach, onto the beach as a writer, was with me the entire time. She wasn't afraid. And so she was able to hold the parts of me, the parts of me that were going to collapse and crumble onto the floor, and the parts of me that had to surrender. So it was with her help that I was able to totally, finally let go. And when I was alone in that hospital, I finally surrendered. And for a moment I returned home, and it had this out of body experience that I still, I mean, a lot of people have heard me say this before and they think, oh yeah, that's crazy. But for a moment I was just free of this body and free of any character flaws or anything else. But the thing is, I don't want to be free of this body, because I want to be here now. And so with a few moments later, a voice deep inside me said, call out for help. call out for help now. And as I crashed onto the floor like a newborn baby, completely unable to do anything or get up, I just knew that that floor had been waiting for me my entire life. And I was now free to start to behave like that little girl who didn't worry about what everyone else was doing, didn't get overly concerned with other people's stories and their insecurities and let them sort of affect her. She was just going to be able to stand in her own power and be that person. But then again, that takes some time too. So that didn't happen. The next day, I thought, 4 days later when I come to at the Priory, I thought I have discovered everything. But lots of other parts of me hadn't. So I would get triggered by a male angry voice, and suddenly a 41-year-old woman is bursting into tears because she hears somebody else talking about that. Or I would find myself yet again trying to please people. And so my quest for the last 9 years is to understand that our thoughts really are not what we want to build our narrative on. We have so many thoughts, and this is why the book has got 60 thoughts. We have so many thoughts running around our head that we literally do not question. And if you stand and connect to this earth, a voice inside you connects you to your body that will then help you to question the thoughts that literally, if we were doing that exercise that Roxana did, and you shared with people some of the thoughts that you had that were holding you back, the person would be like, oh my God, that's not true. That's just not true. You wouldn't even, or if you said that thought, if you mirrored it back to somebody else, you would not say those thoughts to a little child. You would never say to your 4-year-old self, you're not good enough. No one likes you anyway. Who are you to write a book? Who are you to have the dreams come true? You would never say that to your 4-year-old self. You would never say, you're such a loser. You would never say, I'm so stupid. None of those things. And yet we say those things to ourselves every single day. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. And I believe that I was asked to come back to love and cherish all parts of being a human being. All parts of it. The shadow, the shame, the mistakes, the selfishness, the anger, the insecurity, all parts of those. But in the process would enable the parts of me that are creative and fun and loving and joyful to become more visible. Because I'm not judging myself. And when I stopped judging myself, I started to find that I wasn't judging other people quite so much. It can never be the other way around. You know that expression? Don't judge. It's like any judgment means that I'm judging myself. And so I would just ask you tonight, just take a wee moment and just really connect into your body, because this is, as Alison and Roxana have said, this is not just a body. This is an avatar. And this is a TARDIS. And I believe we can travel back in time. We can travel to any moment of our history that we need to, and walk in and scoop up that part of us and surround her with our light, with our strength, with our fire, so that she can come back into our hearts. And that's what I do in my coaching process. I journey with people, and they're the ones that surround themselves with the light. They're the ones that love that little child that maybe got a tiny moment wrong or thought something slightly skewered. It's never anybody else. So actually I believe almost that in the Priory, when my whole body became a ball of light, that actually maybe it was a future version of me that was right there, that was helping me to get up, helping me to know that it was okay, that had actually just scooped me up like a baby and set me on the bed. And it was that future flash forward that came out of the beach that has been nudging me every day, showing me a glimpse of not what was my potential, but what was actually real. And it was happening somewhere on some level, and I just had to catch up with it. And that's what we all have. We all have flash forwards. But we have to get courageous. We have to get courageous to start to claim it, to start to be able to own it. So whether you want to, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do. I did not know. I think as a little child, I always wanted to be a writer. Because if I look back, I wrote poems all the time. You know, I'm a total movie fan. All of that makes sense. But yet it was like, no, you're you're a Catholic, then B, you're a social worker student, then C, you're a sales rep, then C, you're a sales director, then you're a mom. All these labels, none of them can define who we are. And even I had to laugh about, because I'm embracing my whole name, Bernadette. Even the universe reminded me a few days ago that that's just not even enough of a label, because there was a spelling mistake and it was like Bernadette with 3 T's on the spine. And it was like, okay, I'll not get so hung up about being called Bernadette, because really, what is the name anyway? We are beings of light, particles of God on a human adventure. Every single one of us. Energetic beings with these bodies to guide us along the way. These bodies know how to say yes, and these bodies know how to say no. They are telling us every single step of the way, every day. But getting bare feet, if you're losing the connection, is a really powerful way to get that cellular memory back. Because it's no coincidence that my first memory was when I'm barefoot. And it wanted me to remember that. And 2 weeks ago, when I was at Alison's Mackenzie's event, the first thing I noticed was the company name on my tabard thingy. And it said Barefoot Ambition. And it was as if you keep forgetting it's about bare feet. You keep thinking it's about something else. And it really isn't. So whatever it is you do, it's not about even being barefoot on sand in a hot country. It's literally, and if you haven't, if you could trust me even for 2 minutes to take your socks and shoes off and really wriggle your toes into the earth, and you'll discover that it's not remotely cold. It's really warm. And as soon as you do, you are literally stepping back into the control panel so that your intuition is now fully working off the mains. You don't have to charge up. You're just fully connected. And you can allow, and for your health benefits, there's many. But just purely from being able to help you to remember who you were as a being of light. When you came onto this earth, you all came onto this earth deliberately. You wanted to come here, and you had an intention. And that intention was to be that expression, the full expression of who you are. You're not too loud. None of it's too much. All of it is what you're meant to be. And if you've ever been told ever in your life to be quiet, to be less noisy, to be whatever, that's because people are afraid of that. They're afraid of your full expression of who you are. So just allow that memory of your first memory as your little child to come back in to your psyche. And just think, what was she wanting every day in her life? What did she know in her life? Whose love did she feel? And she really will be able to tell you that she felt that she was the center of the universe, the light being that she was, and that the light of the world really was coursing through her veins. And it is for each and every one of us. So, 3 things that have changed. I honor walking barefoot, and I do it like okay, I get you, I'm here. It's not a fad. It's not why we didn't call the Barefoot Sanctuary that because we thought it would be gimmicky. It was like, this is why it's important. Because of that, I tune in to my inner wisdom. I know what a yes feels like. I know what a no feels like. And sometimes it scares the heck out of me. So to get me to go through that, I question my thoughts. And over a period of 18 months, every day as I did my little doodle, another thought would come in. Another thought would come in. And these thoughts are designed to change the programming, because we are a technology, but we need to upgrade our programming so that we can be the full expression of who we are every single day. That's good. So in the book there are several thoughts, but I wanted to finish by reading you the poem that I wrote 18 months ago. And the fact is, I wasn't ready to put a book out 18 months ago because I hadn't given myself full permission to shine. I just didn't. But the universe is a wonderful way of putting things in front of you that enable you to do so. And actually hosting Detox last year was one of them. So here we go. Your permission to shine. Are you waiting for permission? Are you waiting for permission to do what lights you up? To hear it's time? To hear that you're divine? Are you waiting for permission to shine? Are you waiting for permission to write that killer song or stay in bed and make love all day long? Maybe you love painting. Maybe it's guitar. Or maybe it's the desire to wander afar. Maybe it's to raise your hand and say, "Hey, look at me." Or maybe it's simply permission to be. Whatever permission you seek, the answer is now clear. Permission is granted once you overcome your fear. Fear of being rejected, laughed at, or deplored may keep you feeling safe, but your heart will feel ignored. But what if fear is your signal? It's a sign that you are near. Just take one step after another, and it will all become clear. If you give yourself permission to have a little play, allow your heart to guide you, listen to it say, "Explore, my darling, you may." The only permission that you ever need is granted by your heart, and it shines the big green light in the moment that you start. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for shining so brightly. We did it! And she didn't run over time.